On October 20th, 1967, me and Roger were riding up the creek in Bluff Creek, and we looked to past the root ball to our left, and up stood this creature. Now, you all know the story from here, but this is the confession. So, when I chased this creature up the bowling alley just after the sandbar there, she kind of put her two hands on this log and started to bend over and shake her rear end there profusely, and I saw those Bigfoot cheeks clap. And I looked back, and Roger, he was doing some relaxed dance, and he said, "Now everybody in the club getting tipsy." I'm not sure what that meant. And, well, all I thought was, they really are real. They really do exist. So that's the confession, and Russell Accord can suck my...
Yeah, well, a lot of folks did call him Too Good. But that wasn't because he was sporting two pistols. That was because he had a dick that was so big, it was longer than the barrel of that Walker Colt that he carried.
I'm here to do one thing, is to bring one of these creatures back. I don't want to talk right now.
So don't get mad.
Just keep the camera off right now, okay? I said I don't want to talk. You got it? Joan, get me a Snapple.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm not Johnny Cash. That's right. Welcome. Squatchers Lounge Podcast. Miss Three Lou says hello to you. That's right. She's sitting here hanging out with me tonight as we're getting ready for this weekend. We're going to be heading up to, we're going to be going through Northern California, Oregon, back into Northern California, and then back into Oregon for a few days. And then out of Oregon, back into California, back into Oregon, and back into California on the way home, because it's this magical little place that you can't get to. Can't get there from here. Literally, you cannot get to Gold Beach by much way other than driving yourself or by boat. And you can't get there by train. You can't get there by plane, although they have an airport, but not really. Not an airport that anybody can actually find a flight that's not $1,500 friggin' dollars. Yeah, no train, no bus, no plane. It's just whatever. Yeah, the only way to get there is to go into Oregon, drive back into California, and then back into Oregon. So, having said that we're going to do all of that, we decided, you know what? That Bigfoot trap is literally like almost on the way to where we're going. So why don't we stop there? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight. That's right. Let me go ahead and bring up my little, where's that crap at? There it is. Wow. All right. Yeah, the Bigfoot trap. Located in the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest in the southern part of the Jackson County, Oregon. 3.1 miles from the California border, believed to be the only one of its kind. The trap was designed in 1974 to capture Bigfoot, a purported ape-like creature said to live in the woods of the Pacific Northwest. It failed to accomplish this and was abandoned in the early 1980s. Today, the trap is maintained as a novelty by the United States Forest Service as it sits along the Collings Mountain hiking trail and sees hundreds of visitors annually. The trap door is a wooden box, 10 foot by 10 foot, 3 by 3 meters, made of 2 by 12 planks, bound together by heavy metal bands and secured to the ground by telephone poles. A U.S. Forest Service special use permit was issued for its construction. The trap's door has been bolted open since 1980 for visitor safety. Its location was originally remote, but since the construction, the Applegate Dam, a road, is now near the trap. Built in 1974 by the North American Wildlife Research Team, NART, if you'd like, a now defunct organization based in Eugene, Oregon, that was inspired to build a trap at the location by Perry Lovell, a miner who lived near Applegate River, who claimed to have found 18-inch human-like tracks in his garden of all place. Nork operated the trap, keeping it baited with carcasses for 6 years, but caught only bears. The Bigfoot trap was abandoned and began to deteriorate. In 2006, the U.S. Forest Service, under Passport in Time program, began to repair the trap. The trap has become somewhat of a tourist attraction, and hundreds of people visit it annually. At least one film has been shot on the site. Well, we are going to go and take some video. We're going to prounce around it and prowl around it and see what it's all about. Let 3D Lou run around and see exactly what's going on in the Bigfoot trap there in Lower Oregon. They call it Mountain Bigfoot Trap. Let's see here. The trail features views of the Siskiyou Crest and the Applegate Lake, and it passes an inactive Bigfoot trap, as well as a number of mine audits, tunnels with one entrance. Begin at the Hart Tish Park picnic area and continue for 0.75 miles to drop down to Grouse Creek, reach the old Bigfoot trap. From there, the trail climbs rapidly to the ridgeline and begins to traverse the western slope of the Collings Mountain, which we will not be doing. So, yeah, the area was named for the two brothers who mined in the vicinity during the 1850s and 60s. In addition, the last half mile of the trail passes through the 62-acre fire that burned in 1981. It's just down from the town of Rusk. Yeah, that's right. Rook. I don't even know how to pronounce it, sadly. Let's see here. Well, why don't we go ahead and do some shout outs here, because this is probably going to be a very reduced edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. It just, I'm trying to get back into the order of things, guys. My medicine is just I'm almost done with it. Another week or two, and this nighttime stuff will be over with. But I don't think very well past about 7 o'clock. So I'm trying to keep it together. I really am, but I'm not promising you I'm not going to wander off like the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. But speaking of that, I wanted to say a big shout out to Mr. Shane Barber. The man listens to more Squatchers Lounge podcast content than probably any other human being on the planet. I don't know how healthy that is for his mental stability, but man, do I appreciate it. Thanks, Shane, buddy. Lance Windsor is in the house, as well as Dean Cooper. That's right, the quasi-theorist himself is in the house. There's Aaron and Mary Duncan, who, by the way, will be meeting us down there at the Bigfoot Trap. I don't know why they've never gone, but apparently they haven't. So we're going to do that and look for some Apache tears and some other stuff, some petrified wood. It's just going to be a voyage. I will try to take pictures and videos along the way. It's a 7-hour journey. So the Random Cook, hello there. Glad you are with us as well tonight. There's the Viking, Ken Reif. Hello, buddy. Glad you are with us. Mr. Oh, God, man. I take all this allergy medicine and it still gets all over my damn microphone. Hey, buddy. Glad you were with us tonight as well. Kevin K, 831 in Idaho. How do you know which one of the beauty contestants is a prostitute? She's the one wearing the sash that says Idaho. See how that is? Rod Dupree, that man's always in the place to be. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I like about these Bigfoot chicks? I keep getting older. They still can't get found. That's right. That's right. So glad everybody's here with us tonight. Oh, good grief. You know what? Let's go ahead and just get rid of that for right at the moment. And we'll do that. And that's because I screwed up. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that anyhow. Yeah, it's one of those days. It really is. I try. I really do try. But sometimes I'm not good at it. All right, there we go. We do have a quasi theory for the week as requested by the man himself. Well, let's take a listen.
A friend of mine sent an email to me with a video for me to watch and comment on. The video is of an investigative reporter examining the lifestyles of televangelists. Christian televangelists, to be precise. If any of you out there are fans of televangelists, well then consider the rest of this to be what I think to be the fate of whatever huckster lives a large and lavish lifestyle by conning poor folks out of their money. On the other hand, the following somewhat continues on my last theory, offered several weeks ago, concerning 12 spheres and the influence of them on our lives, only with a different set of spheres and no geometry. While I do not believe in anything like eternal damnation, I am quite sure there are what the Hindus and Buddhists call astral hells, where particularly bad people can spend time after shuffling off this mortal coil. What a pleasant Shakespearean metaphor for kicking the bucket. The astral world, which in Sanskrit is called anda and means sphere, is a higher order sphere than our earth. It is where our lower emotions and desires originate. There's way more to the astral world than that. That's all you need to know for now. That it is a real thing is illustrated, I believe, by all those itsy-bitsy particles experimental nuclear physicists detect popping out of nowhere and then popping back to nowhere. They're popping in and out of the astral plane. When stripped of the physical body at death, the conscious attention of yourself moves into your astral body. You are technically always in your astral body, but your attention is focused in your physical body. The physical body actually dampens down the intensity of our desires and motions. Those who are consumed by lust for physical things, money, food, sex, or what have you, build up an immense sort of force that then burns in them intensely when they pass over, because they are unable to satisfy those physical passions. The force eventually exhausts itself and they move upwards to a yet somewhat higher sphere until they reincarnate. Hopefully the experience of burning in an astral hell purifies the hucksters enough that they won't pull the same bullshit in their next life. They will, of course, owe great wads of compensatory karma to all those they duped. They won't remember what they did here or what happened when they died, but these sort of seed impressions of it remain with their spirit. The general structure of a reincarnating being is body, soul, and spirit, or sarke, psyche, and pneuma in Greek. That's pneuma as a pneumatic or pneumonia. You die from the body, then die from the soul, but the karmic impressions are remembered or stored in the pneuma or spirit. When you reincarnate, a new psyche or soul is made, which then receives a new sarke or physical body, so you don't normally remember past lives. New soul and body combos are made based on your previous screw-ups and or good deeds, as per the spec sheet for your new incarnation. The specifications whereof are worked out between you and the Norns, the three goddesses who wove the threads of fate for the Old Norse peoples, the three Morai, the weaver goddesses of ancient Greece, who wove the cloth of your destiny, or the Karma Devas of Hinduism, who do pretty much the same thing. Once again, it's that simple. This has been Dean Cooper, quasi-scientist, enlightening you with my quasi-theory of the week. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Well, there you go, people. Bydean.com. That's right. Crazy, crazy, crazy world of the quasi theory. That's right. Don't forget, this edition is brought to you by the Indian Creek Hatchery. That's right. 90,000 of them little boogers go back into the river every year due to volunteer. And we're really hoping to be able to continue on. God has been here since the 1800s. Let's keep it going. So if you got a few bucks, send it off to the Indian Creek Hatchery, and they will be very happy to have it. I'm going to go catch me a Pacific salmon finally. I've spent thousands of dollars and spent hundreds of hours trying, and it's just eluded me over the last 8 years. So we're going to get it done this week, one way or another. I don't care if I got to jump overboard and beat the seal up to take one from him or the sea lion. I'm going to get one. So yeah, I'm I'll take a 10-pounder. I don't care. I just want to catch a friggin' Pacific salmon. So that's what's going to happen there for sure. But yeah, we're going to be there in town on Tuesday, Glenn. If you want to come out and meet us, man, just send me a text. I'll text you when we get to the store there if I can. Yeah, back to what we were talking about, which was the Bigfoot trap there in Lower Oregon. I wonder how close that is to the Southern Oregon habituation site. Yeah, I mean, does anybody actually know where that is? I mean, I know a few people have claimed to know where it is. The world's only Bigfoot trap, 1974, restored 2006, a 10-foot high cube of bolted together wood with metal mesh door designed to fall shut behind any Bigfoot. These are some of the messages that I found from people who were there. Kim was there in 2018. But the distance from the road is about 3/4 of a mile. It's not level nor easy path for those with a heart or lung issues or knees and hips that don't cooperate. So understand that you are going on a trail hike 3/4 of a mile up and 3/4 of a mile back. I don't believe anybody's going to Yoda pack you. But you never know, maybe. There was the descriptions of the dilapidated old shack about a half mile up on the pass, which gives you the signifies the fork in the trail to go left to the Bigfoot trap. But there isn't one because the shack is now flat on the ground and it's a pile of branches. The Bigfoot trap, North American Wildlife Research Team, now whatever, they restored it. Miner Perry Lovell reported that he discovered an 18-inch human-like tracks with a 6-foot stride in his garden near the Applegate River. The trap was baited with carcasses for 6 freaking years. Give me a freaking break here. Oh, found him. Don't have to look anymore. That's right. The Rogue Wilderness, Morrison's Rogue Wilderness, Southern Oregon, home of the only world's Bigfoot trap. Sasquatch still roams the forest of the Rogue River Valley. It's not Red River Valley. Whether you're a true believer or staunch skeptic, the fact that the world's only known Bigfoot trap resides in the forest just a few miles from Applegate Lake. Built in 1974 by, of course, I mean, if you're going to make an acronym, whatever. Yeah. The purpose of the trap was to prove the existence of the legendary bipedal hominoid, said to roam the forests of the Pacific Northwest. Unfortunately, in all of 6 years, they weren't successful. Imagine that. How long did it take them to trap the Billy Ape on video? I want to say that was like a 12-year program, but hey, whatever. The Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon, Bigfoot sightings and stories circulate frequently. Footprints of extraordinarily size have been documented, and locals report unusual phenomena not easily explained by logic or science. However, we're not alone. Turns out people all over the world have those kinds of things. Whether you believe it's fact or fiction, apparently at Morrison's Rogue Wilderness Adventures, they always find Bigfoot for you. So there you have it, folks. That's what we're talking about tonight. The world's only known Bigfoot trap. That's right. So, yeah, for sure. So we're heading there Tuesday. Wednesday will be no show next week because obviously I will be whacked out from reeling in a 50 or 60 pound salmon. That's right. That's right. I'm going to be too exhausted to have a show on Wednesday. My arms are going to be tired from cranking in all this salmon. So, yeah, I'll be back the week after that for sure. And we'll get back to this as a regular thing as the cards are talking to me, telling me to get back off my ass. So, my medication drops a lot as of today. I stopped taking a lot of stuff. So for sure, I want to thank all you guys for being here tonight. I love each and every one of you. We're all just a big collection of a big collection of brokenness that we all hang out together and somehow share that energy to make each one of us just that little bit and better. And with that, I do have a Bigfoot campfire story for you tonight. So until next time, may the Squatch be with you. A Bigfoot captured in the Pacific Northwest had been held in captivity for nearly 30 years by the Carnival of the Damned as part of their freak show. Half man, half creature, and all real terror, it fit right in until the last night it had ever been seen in its cage. Let's hear that story. Hi, my name's Timmy, and as a young boy, I enjoyed traveling. Each summer, my parents would send me back east to Virginia to stay with my grandparents while my parents worked. I really loved my Nana. She always knew how to keep me happy. I had been in town for about a week when Nana came home from the market, and she presented me with a pair of tickets to the newly arrived carnival. I was super excited about it as I loved exotic animals, from lions and tigers to monkeys and chimps. It was all advertised on the ticket, and I couldn't wait for Saturday to get here. The days seemed to stretch on, while I kept hearing stories from others who had been to the show, how amazing the big cat show was, and even some sort of story that they kept calling a wood booger. I even heard a couple of the local boys arguing if it was even real or it must be a fake. After all of this, I was about to burst, and then finally, the day arrived. Nana woke me up early as she had some things to do before we could go to the carnival this evening. Out we went, doing our usual visits to neighbors and others who couldn't get out for themselves. I couldn't help but be a bit selfish and just stare at the clock most of the day. And then it happened. Nana turned to me and said, "Let's go get ready for the show." So home we went while she got all changed and dressed up. She looked amazing in her polka dot dress and hat. Nana always had class. And then I stood there in front of her in my brown tweed suit, just as proud as I could be, holding my brown bolo hat. Just then, Granddad looks over and woof whistles and wishes us the best on our adventure, as he wasn't into people that much, he said. I was in amazement with all the sights and sounds as we arrived. This was the year I discovered my hatred of clowns. Not so much a fear, mind you, but an overburdening need to beat them in the face with a bat. Anyways, we walked past the big cats and watched the one-ring show, then browsed all through all of the midway, and that's when I heard it. Come one, come all, and see what only a few can stomach, one of the scariest creatures on earth. Step right up and see the half-man Sasquatch of the Pacific Northwest. Just 15 cents a person. Step right up. Well, I couldn't resist a look at Nana, as she kind of cringed with the thought of it, but into her purse she dug, and off to the Barker to buy 2 tickets we went. "Hello there, young man," said the Barker with his greasy hair and matching greasy mustache. "We're glad you could join us, but are you sure your lovely lady is ready to see such horrors as these?" Well, Nana spoke right up for herself, as she had seen the horrors of battle in the Great War, and surely this couldn't match any of that. He looked my way and smiled some knowing smile and pointed towards the old decaying red and yellow striped tent. Once through the flaps and around a blind corner, we were herded along with the others into row after row of folding chairs facing a stage. Inside, there were just a few folks, like the man in the moth-ridden brown suit and the motorcycle hood and the leather jacket. Well, Nana led me to the seats towards the exit, and we sat there and waited for the show. It wasn't but a few minutes past when the Barker returned, this time in a bright and red shabby of an overcoat and top hat, smoking a cigar and laughing at his own jokes. But with the wave of his hand, the music stopped and the lights went dim, and he began to warn us of what we were about to see. "Lady and gentlemen, you have come here of your own free will to see the freak that is the half-man, half-creature known as Sasquatch by the Chehalis Indians, or Sasquatch to you and I. I, too, didn't believe the creature until I saw it firsthand, just like you brave people are about to. Just remember, keep your voices down, don't make any sudden movements, and we'll all make it safely out together. Now, please form a line to the door at my left and prepare yourself for the horror that is Sasquatch." With excitement building, I grabbed Nana by the hand and pulled her so we could be first in line to see the creature. As the rest of the room got in line behind us, the Barker came down before us and stood in front of the door. He knocked 3 times, then 2, and then the door slowly opened, and he stepped inside. He stepped aside and let us all by. I looked in the cage, but I couldn't see a thing. Others pushed past us and yelled at the Barker, "Hey, is this some kind of a scam? There's no creature in here." The Barker pushed past us all to stare at the now empty cage with the side door open and a panicked look upon his face. Just then, silence fell upon the room as we heard a low, deep, guttural growl from the darkened corner of the room of the tent. The Barker froze and began to back up slowly towards the doors. Just then the creature came forth into the light. It stood some 7 foot tall, must have been 500 pounds, great big ridges over its eyes that shadowed them from the light, making the details harder to see. Covered in hair from head to toe, it stood before us, heaving and now panting in what seemed like aggravated panic. It began to pace back and forth, and then stopped and screamed a blood-curdling roar that made us all turn and run from the tent. Nana was frozen in place, but a quick tug towards the exit's direction, she quickly fled with me. Others trampling over people who had fallen. I looked back just in time to see the Sasquatch snatch the Barker by the arm and thrash him to the ground until he moved no more, then tore through the back end of the tent and fled into the woods. We rushed back to the car and avoided near collision after near collision all the way back out. And before we knew it, we had actually arrived back to her house. Granddad met us at the door. He had heard on the radio that there was some sort of emergency at the carnival, and he was relieved that we were home. We sat down while they had coffee and tried to explain what had happened. But it wasn't until he heard it on the news report on the radio that they were actually looking for an escaped animal from the show that he finally started to believe. For weeks, it seemed there were reports of people seeing it almost nightly until finally it just stopped. Although there's been mysterious cases of missing persons around the carnival until it finally closed a few years later. But I suppose those are tales for another time. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.